This is a story about sudden loss, the kind that doesn't knock, doesn't warn, and doesn't leave room for goodbye. It follows Amara, a mother whose entire world collapses in a single day when she loses her husband and 3 children. But beyond the tragedy, this is also a story about what happens after the worst moment imaginable. It explores grief in its rawest form, the emptiness that follows, and the slow, fragile process of learning how to exist again. At its core, this is not just a story about loss. It is a story about love that refuses to die, even when everything else does. The rain started before dawn, soft at first, like a whisper against the windows. By the time the sun should have risen, the sky was a heavy gray, pressing down on the small house at the edge of town. Amara stood in the kitchen, stirring a pot of porridge that no one was eager to eat on mornings like this. Still, she smiled when she heard the laughter behind her. Her husband, Daniel, was pretending to be a monster, chasing their 3 children around the living room. Their youngest, Lila, shrieked with delight. The twins, Sam and Simi, clung to each other, giggling. "Breakfast!" Amara called, trying to sound firm but failing to hide her warmth. They gathered at the table, noisy and alive. Daniel caught her eye and winked. It was an ordinary morning, the kind people forget, the kind that never warns you it will be the last. "Drive safe," Amara said as they rushed out. The storm had grown louder now, wind pushing against the door as Daniel held it open. "We'll be back before you miss us," he teased. "I already do," she replied. Those were the last words they ever exchanged. The call came an hour later. At first, Amara didn't understand. Words like accident, highway, and severe floated through the phone like a foreign language. Her heart began to pound, not from fear yet, but from confusion. There must be a mistake. There wasn't. A truck had lost control on the rain-slick road. Daniel's car had been crushed before he had time to react. "They didn't suffer," the voice said gently, but suffering had only just begun. The hospital was too bright, too clean, too quiet. Amara sat in a chair that felt like it was swallowing her whole as the doctor spoke words she refused to accept. "All 4. She shook her head. "No," she whispered. "No, that's not possible." But reality does not bend for grief. She walked into the room where they lay, 4 still forms under white sheets. Her family, her world. Her knees gave way. "This is a dream," she gasped. "I'll wake up. I have to wake up." But the silence answered her. She reached for Daniel's hand, cold. Then Lila's tiny fingers, still. Sam, Simi, gone. Every laugh, every argument, every bedtime story ended in a single moment she never saw coming. Days passed, but time lost meaning. The house, once filled with chaos and joy, now echoed with emptiness. Toys lay untouched. 4 plates still sat on the drying rack. Amara stopped cooking, stopped sleeping, stopped living. Neighbors came and went. Their words blurred together. Strong. Time heals. They're in a better place. None of it reached her, because her place, her only place, had been with them. And now, there was nothing. One evening, as the rain returned, Amara found herself sitting by the window again. Just like that morning. The world looked the same, but everything had changed. A small drawing caught her eye, taped crookedly to the wall. A picture of their family, drawn in uneven crayon lines. 5 figures holding hands under a bright yellow sun. At the bottom, in shaky letters, "Forever." Her chest tightened. Tears fell, slow, heavy, unstoppable. "They didn't take you with them," she whispered into the quiet. "You're still here, in me." For the first time since that day, she breathed, deep and broken, but real. The pain didn't leave. It never would, but neither would the love. And somehow, in the ruins of everything she had lost, Amara realized one fragile truth. She was still here. The nights were the hardest. Daylight brought distractions, voices, footsteps from neighbors, the hum of passing cars, but the night stripped everything away. It forced Amara to sit alone, with memories that felt too alive to belong to the past. She began sleeping on the couch. The bedroom was untouched. The bed still neatly made, Daniel's side perfectly aligned, as though he might return and slip under the covers at any moment. She couldn't bring herself to wrinkle it, couldn't bear the finality of accepting that no one would ever sleep there again. One night, around 2:17 a.m., she woke up suddenly. "I heard something," she whispered into the darkness. Her heart raced. For a brief, foolish moment, hope surged through her veins. "Leela?" she called softly. Silence. Still, she stood up, her bare feet cold against the wooden floor, and walked slowly down the hallway. Each step felt like stepping into a memory. The walls were lined with photos, birthdays, school events, lazy Sundays. She reached the children's room and pushed the door open. Empty. The toys remained exactly where they had been left. A doll lay on its side. A puzzle, half completed, rested on the floor. Amara sank to her knees. "I'm losing my mind," she whispered. But deep down, she knew the truth. She wasn't losing her mind. She was losing her reality. Weeks passed, then months. Grief didn't fade. It changed shape. At first, it had been loud, screaming, suffocating, unbearable. Now it became quieter, heavier, like a constant shadow that followed her everywhere. People slowly stopped visiting, not because they didn't care, but because they didn't know what to say anymore. And Amara didn't blame them. Even she didn't know what she needed. One afternoon, while sorting through a drawer she had avoided for months, Amara found Daniel's watch. It was scratched slightly on the side. He had once joked that it had survived more accidents than he had. Her fingers trembled as she held it. "Why didn't you survive this one?" she whispered. Tears blurred her vision, but she didn't wipe them away this time. Instead, she let them fall. For the first time, she didn't fight the pain. She let it sit with her. And strangely, it didn't destroy her. A few days later, something unexpected happened. Amara stepped outside, not just to collect mail, not just to breathe for a moment. She walked. Slowly at first, as though her legs had forgotten how to carry her. The world felt unfamiliar, like she had been gone for years. Children were playing in the distance. She froze. For a moment, the sound of laughter pierced her chest so sharply she thought she might collapse. But she stayed. She listened. It hurt. But it also reminded her of something she had almost forgotten. Life was still happening. That evening, she sat by the window again. The rain had stopped. For the first time in months, the sky was clear. She looked up. "I don't know how to do this," she said softly, as though speaking to them. "I don't know how to live without you." The silence that followed wasn't empty. It felt patient. as though waiting. The next morning, Amara did something small but significant. She made breakfast. Just one plate. She sat at the table alone, staring at the empty chairs. "This is ridiculous," she muttered. But she ate. Slowly, painfully, but she ate. And when she finished, she didn't cry. Not because it didn't hurt, but because something inside her had shifted. Just slightly. Time moved on. It Allah does. Amara began taking short walks every day. She started cleaning the house, not erasing memories, but organizing them. She placed photos in frames instead of hiding them away. She spoke their names out loud. Daniel, Leela, Sam, Simi. She refused to let silence erase them. One afternoon, while walking through a nearby park, she noticed a little girl sitting alone on a bench, crying. Amara hesitated. For a moment, fear held her back. The fear of stepping into someone else's pain when she was still drowning in her own. But something pushed her forward. "She says, hey," she said gently. "What's wrong?" The girl wiped her tears. "I lost my mom in the crowd." Amara's chest tightened. Lost. The word hit differently now. "I'll help you find her," Amara said softly. And she did. In a few hours, the girl was reunited with her mother, who hugged her tightly, tears streaming down her face. "Thank you," the woman said to Amara. Amara nodded, but as she walked away, something unexpected happened. Her heart didn't just ache, it warmed, just a little. That night, she realized something important. Helping someone else hadn't erased her pain, but your purpose. From that day on, Amara began volunteering at a local support center. At first, she barely spoke. She simply listened to others who had lost, who were broken, who were searching for something they couldn't name. And slowly, she started to share. Not everything, but enough. And in doing so, she discovered something she hadn't expected. She wasn't alone. Years passed. The pain never disappeared, but it softened. It became something she carried, not something that crushed her. Amara learned how to laugh again, not as freely as before, but genuinely. She learned how to wake up without dread, how to sit in silence without breaking, how to remember without collapsing. One evening, she returned to the window, the same spot where everything had once felt impossible. The sky was painted in shades of gold and orange. Beautiful. She held the old drawing in her hands, the one with 5 figures under a bright yellow sun. "Forever," she read softly. "I understand now." Amara never moved on. She moved forward. There is a difference. Moving on suggests forgetting, and she never forgot. Instead, she carried her family with her, in every step, every breath, every act of kindness she offered to the world. She turned her grief into something meaningful. She helped others who felt lost find their way again. And in doing so, she found a new version of herself. Not the woman she used to be, but someone shaped by love, loss, and resilience. Years later, when people met Amara, they didn't just see a woman who had suffered unimaginable tragedy. They saw strength, compassion, light. Because even after losing everything, she chose every single day to keep living. And one quiet evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Amara smiled. Not because the pain was gone, but because the love remained. And that love was enough to carry her through forever. Years later, on a quiet spring morning, Amara stood beneath a wide, blooming tree at the edge of a small park. The the same place she had once helped a lost little girl find her mother. In her hands, she held that same crayon drawing. 5 figures, uneven lines, a bright yellow sun, and one word written at the bottom: forever. But this time, she wasn't crying. Around her, life moved gently. Children laughed. The wind carried the soft scent of flowers. And for the first time, those sounds didn't break her. They held her. A small group gathered nearby. People she had come to know over the years. Those she had helped through grief, just as she once needed help herself. Some called her a mentor, others a guide. But Amara never saw herself that way. She simply understood pain, and she understood love. She knelt down and placed the drawing beneath the tree, pressing it gently into the soil. "I carried you as far as I could," she whispered, her voice steady. "Now, you carry me." She closed her eyes, and in that moment, something inside her finally settled. Not the pain, not the memories, but the weight. It was no longer crushing her. It was part of her. She stood up slowly, looking at the sky. For a brief second, she could almost hear them again. Laughter, soft and distant, like an echo carried by the wind. She smiled. Not a broken smile, a whole one. And as she walked away, she didn't look back. Not because she was leaving them behind, but because she no longer needed to. They were no longer something she had lost. They were something she had become. And for the first time since that stormy morning years ago, Amara felt at peace. Grief is not something you get over. It is something you learn to carry. There will be days when it feels unbearable, when memories hurt more than they comfort, and when the silence feels louder than any noise. That part is deep, but don't run from the pain. Sit with it. Feel it. Let it teach you, because hidden inside grief is proof of something powerful. That you loved, that it mattered, that it was real. And as long as that love remains, you are never truly empty. Take life one breath at a time, one step at a time. When you can, no matter how small, choose to keep going. Because even after the darkest storms, light still finds a way through. God Almighty will heal you from your pains and sorrow. Every challenges and storm of life facing you at the moment, God will come to your aid and rescue you. Please subscribe, like and comment where you are watching from. Kiitos paljon. Bye!